COVID-19 also have taught us that showing emotions, caring for employees is crucial.
Absolutely.
To even to work, and especially when employees work from home, how can we really take care of them and really show them that we really care? Maybe not love them, but close to, from my opinion. Because
Hi, and welcome to another episode of the peopleHum interview series. This is your host Neha at peopleHum. peopleHum is an end-to-end, one-view, integrated human capital management automation platform, the winner of the 2019 Global Cody Award for HCM that's specifically built for crafted employee experiences and the future of work. We run the peopleHum blog and channel that receives more than 200,000 visitors a year, and we also publish several interviews with well-known names globally every month. We have with us today Helle Ottesen, the founder of Unleash Leaders' Potential. She is an executive neuroscience coach who has been helping leaders establish their work online during the pandemic. She has experience with several well-known private and public organizations. Her areas of expertise include business development, expansion, and consulting. She believes that the current scenario is a reflection of what's in store for us in the future, and she's joining us today to share her views on that and more in detail. So welcome to peopleHum, Helle. Thank you so much for giving us the time.
yeah, you're welcome. I'm glad. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you. So Helle, you're the CEO as well as Neuroscience Board Certified Executive Coach at Unleash Leaders Potential. So that sounds very interesting. Could you tell us about your role as well as a bit about your company?
Yes, I will. Yes. I think it started really a long time before it ever started, this business.
Right.
Because I have been working with leadership, honestly, from when I was 22 years old. I was headhunted in a shop in the little town here in Denmark where I come from, 2 shops and 1 production. And I learned a lot about that. I learned about how to be a leader, how to recruit, how to manage economy, and how to set strategies and everything, because it was almost close to concurs that company. So I learned a lot while studying. So it was a hard time. And since that, I've been headhunted a lot of times to lead big changes, turnarounds, whatever you call it. And so I've been both in the private and public sectors. And I found out I love this change management approaches, because you have the chance to start all over. You have the chance to really come in when things are so bad in chaos, and I hate chaos. So it's a great place for me to be, to go from chaos to structure, to thriving place to be, where we all love to work and we do things in a good harmony. That's what I love. But it's a long way from going to chaos and to make that work. So I've been learning a lot of strategies through all these years. It's many years I've been in leadership. So when I was studying psychology, I learned about neuroscience, and I was thinking, wow, this makes a change, not only when we are consulting people one-on-one in like a psychologist or in a leader and employment, but also in the workplace in general. So I began working on that, and I could see a lot of other people were ahead of me, of course, and was reading a lot about that. And I love that work because it makes sense. We are all just humans, really, after all. That's my approach. We're just humans, and we have to have a work. We have to have some income, but why not have a good place to go to each day that we love, and also to do that. So I found out that leadership was not only leadership if we don't have the understanding of why people act like we do. We're just humans again, and we act in different ways. We have something with us from our childhood and our growing ups, and we all have that. We have some biases. We all have that. Me too. So I think it's important to know these biases, all of us, and also to have the understanding in that way we are working, the way of being a leader, how to help the workplace in the best way. So the workplace for me is the relationship between the leaders and employees, and the employees between, maybe in teams, whatever you have. And I think it's important to me that we have that high level of thriving place to be, thriving workplace, because that was what I was not seeing when I was headhunted in different organizations.
Right.
I was seeing people not even having the courage or the energy to go to work, and it was very, it was heart touching, and I felt really sad about them, and I wanted to help them. If they wanted to come back, I would make it the best place for them to be. That's what I loved. So I found out that implementing neuroscience could help us do better leadership, be more, do better meetings, more effective meetings as well, but also having that engagement in the way we work as employees, to have that high performance level approach. And I know all these terms, high performance and things like that, but it really has a deeper meaning.
Yes.
And it's and there's a long way again to establish these things, to have a thriving workplace or to have high performance teams. But it all depends on how the leader's approach is. So that's why I have decided to work with leaders, to help them really from my heart, and to help them to get the best out of themselves, because we have potentials. We have a lot of potentials we never use in our work, because we think that we have some assumptions, that we think that we have to do this. Oh, it's not proper to involve our personalities or our emotions at work, but it's not true. It's really good to be vulnerable. It's good to show emotions. It's good to care for your employees. So in all this, what you're asking, long answer. I think that COVID-19 also have taught us that showing emotions, caring for employees is crucial.
Absolutely.
To even to work, and especially when employees work from home, how can we really take care of them and really show them that we really care? Maybe not love them, but close to, from my opinion, because we really try, everyone try to do their best.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I love that. So that's what I'm doing, implementing neuroscience in my leadership working. And when I work with leaders, of course, it also have to, like rings in the water, to have to spread in the organization. I love when the leader asks me, could I use all this with my employees? And I say, yes, I love that answer. Thank you for asking. So I would help leaders also to use it, not to have me more in the organization, but to really say, we don't need Helle. I love that. To not be important, to not be necessary to work with them, because they can do it all by themselves.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I feel like your answer has so much of passion in it, because this is something that you yourself have gone through. And the fact that when you go through a journey and you think to yourself, this is what I want to do ahead, I feel like with that comes a different sort of passion, a different sort of grit. So I absolutely appreciate that. And the fact that, I've always come to think of HR professionals as people who understand other people, because otherwise they would not be doing what they're doing. But the fact that you have also studied neuroscience makes it all the more interesting. And your answer truly does reflect that. So thank you so much for sharing that with us. The next question that I want to ask you is that you've mentioned your journey as a remote leader during this pandemic. So one can definitely imagine the struggles in, motivating and constantly engaging their employees in order to maintain productivity during what are obviously uncertain times. So based on your expertise as well as personal experience, would you like to mention a few basic tenets for leaders to consider during and shortly after the pandemic to keep their employees engaged?
Yeah, especially in these times, as you mentioned, it's very difficult to keep on the motivation. And from my perspective, we don't have to focus on motivation. What we do focus on what I think is much more important is to focus on the trust, the relationships between not only the leader to employees, but also make some communities to make the employees want to engage with each other, help, support each other, what to do about this job, how do I solve this challenge? I didn't see that coming. What do we do in these situations? Because something weird is happening all the time.
Absolutely.
So building up trust is absolutely the most important for me, because when we have trust, it's much easier also for leaders to really give that responsibility to the employees, and because the employees know my leader trusts me. She believes that I'm capable of solving this challenge, this problem, whatever it is, this new subject as well, this new kind of work. Because in change and crisis, almost the same happens, at least in this crisis, it's a big crisis. So we often change our work, the way we're working, or whatever we used to work with, it will be changed in such a situation we have now. So when the leaders show trust in the employees, they get much more belief in themselves and determination that, oh, wow, I can solve this, I can do this. And they can support with each other, like in peer groups, and they can call each other how to do that, how to have meetings about the work, how do we solve it. So the trust is absolutely the most important for me. And so that would be the first place to start. If we don't have trust, you see in statistics that almost only 30% of all employees love their work, are engaged in their work. It's too small a number. So we have a lot of potential. That's what my focus is. How can we create or design a workplace, a leadership that really expand that potential, the leader, employees, the teams, in the whole organization? Because when we use that, we are starting building up trust, we are starting building up the communication, the dialogues, how do we talk about things, creating a culture that it's legal to know, I don't know what to do. It's also legal to fail. We just have to admit it, of course. Oh, I didn't get that. I didn't know how to solve it. I just tried. But try to talk with one another to level up that engagement and that performance in the team. So that's the thing to start with.
I feel like these are very, very simple. These are basically the little things that go on to become the big things. And a lot of attention needs to be given to these. So thank you for putting that into perspective. I'm sure that a lot of our listeners and viewers right now are just nodding along, because all of it is making sense, that when you do the little things that way, you actually go to where you want to be. So thank you for that. How much of a role do you think technology plays in today's rapidly changing corporate world? So do you think leaders need to adapt to a new set of practices, and how would you suggest that this transition take place from a place where we were not used to using technology so heavily to a future where we are going to be using it very often to stay in touch with our co-workers and actually be productive?
Yeah. You can say it in one way. You have two choices here from my perspective. You have an approach, or maybe when we're talking about neuroscience and coaching, two kind of mindsets. A growth mindset, or a mindset where you think you have learned whatever's possible and you cannot learn anymore. You cannot change. You don't see the possibilities in growing your potential, your capabilities. I would focus on the growth mindset. The growth mindset gives the leader an opportunity to communicate, again, create that culture, talking about, well, wow, we are in a difficult situation, and we all know that, that's no secret. But it makes a difference that the leaders also are capable of communicating his or her insecurity. That's, wow, we actually don't really know what to do. How can we do
Yes.
this together? And when we talk about it and we relax and we build up that trust, like I was talking about before, we have a focus on growing our mindset. We have a focus on maybe creating new path, new design, new ways to do our work. Maybe we have to change markets, whatever is necessary within the business. But the way we do things is what I focus on. So when we communicate and we create that culture that it's okay to admit that we actually don't know what to do, but we want to learn, we want to grow, that growth mindset opens up to a lot of opportunities. And then we can focus on some strategies, depending on what the leader, the company wants, of course. We can support, that's what I do in my work. So I help leaders become more open to that development it takes to be in a change and crisis situation like now.
Right.
And also to implement. I think it's important to the employees to have that feeling that he or she is wanted, because we're all emotions. We're all just humans with emotions. We go to work with our emotions. We don't sit them aside or put them in at home. We take them with us. We want to feel that the leader appreciates what I do, even though I don't know actually what to do. But I will support, I will contribute whatever I can do in that. But also it's necessary that the leader invites the employees, come in and be a part of us, ask the employees, what do you think about that? In the opposite, what is going to happen if the leader is not aware of this, implementing, inviting and asking, have that communication with the employees, they feel trapped, they feel stuck, they feel left alone. That's what's happening to many people now.
Yes.
So many headlines, people sit at home, work, they feel alone. So it's a bad thing. It's about communication, dialogues. It's also about creating that culture, togetherness culture. And it can sound like, wow, it's not something about business because we have to work, we have to have strategies and things like that. But this is actually a strategy. But we have to be aware. We have to be aware that we spend our time well. It has to be well spent, the time we are on work. And we do that by building up these foundations. And when the employees feel they are invited, the leader can, in another way, he goes in, or she goes another way to make that strategy also. When the employees are more engaged and they want to contribute to new ideas, how to do this in these crazy times, she can give the employees more responsibility.
Yes, definitely.
They get more engaged, yes, and they really want to do things. Wow, we can do this, we can do that. They just find new ways to do things when we're in that growth mindset approach. Yeah. So we find new ways to do it. And then the leader can design that new culture without even knowing what is going on maybe for the employees, but that's what's happening. And they found that foundation. They love it. So we don't have the employees feeling stuck alone, we talked about, but also feeling the stress or maybe want to leave the workplace because they don't feel attached. They don't feel like a part of it because the leader is very much aware of this neuroscience approach that the brain has to always feel that we are wanted. Our contribution is appreciated as well. Yeah, it's very necessary to implement all the emotions and also to talk about the brain, how the brain works with leaders. That's what I do. I think it's very important. Yeah, you can say it's a kind of lessons, but no matter what it is, yeah, I think it's important that we are aware of how we really work and why that employees don't feel engaged. She doesn't want to do anything. I want her to do a new kind of job. Why isn't she engaged? Maybe something, and then we talk about it. Maybe you could understand. And if the trust is missing, it's very difficult for the leader to engage the employees, because the employees will always have up her hands or his hands. Oh no, because the trust is not built from the beginning. When the trust is built, it's much easier for the leader to put in new ideas, new kind of working, or set up new teams or whatever, or to put in more responsibilities, because that's really how I see leadership. We have to delegate a lot of our work, much more than leaders usually do. That's my hidden agenda, but that's also a part of the neuroscience. So when people really get that neuroscience and how it's really possible to implement, a whole new world is open for the leaders, because they find themselves, they are not in the machine room working all day and really looking over the workers' shoulders. Just you really do it like I want to, whatever. That micro leadership is not working anymore. We have to step out of what we used to know. This is a whole new world opening. Really, I think we have to implement all the good things we can and embrace that new time coming. We have a lot of opportunities. And I think the role of the leader, that's a part of my PhD. I'm going to start very, very soon. The role of the leader will also change when he or she is aware of how to implement neuroscience in the work. So I love that.
So I think what I most loved about what you just spoke is about the growth mindset. Because one thing that we need to take into account is that with the pandemic, a lot of people are upskilling themselves. And when we do return to whatever the new normal is, whatever the new work culture looks like, I'm sure that a lot of people will have a lot of things to contribute and sort of cover up for, not being able to do that very actively, just virtually, but not very actively. So I feel like somewhere in order to implement those things, there needs to be a culture where they want to feel like they can grow. And as leaders, unless we can provide that to them, there's no way that's happening. So I really appreciate what you said about that.
Thank you.
The next question that I want to ask you, I am personally most intrigued to learn, and I was actually really waiting to reach this point where I could ask you this question. So, being a neurologist, how do you bridge science into leadership? I'm very intrigued to learn that.
I do this by awareness. Like I was saying before, I feel like in the beginning I can teach a little bit about neuroscience for the leaders I'm coaching, I'm helping. Because we have to be aware what we're doing. It's not just something, maybe it works because I do some different things. We have to be aware. There's a clear strategy in what we do when we implement neuroscience in leadership. Because the brain is maybe, it isn't working logical. We have to get the understanding. And if we don't get that, we lose a lot of opportunities. We don't use our whole potentials ourselves as leaders, and we certainly don't use all the potentials of the workers. That's one of the main things also when leaders ask me, how do I attract talents? Well, if the leader doesn't understand how to use the full potentials of the employees, it's sure they leave. Absolutely, because that's what talents do. They love to use the whole register from A to Z of their potential. That's a part of it. So being aware of how to implement that in each and every strategy. And when we set strategies, for instance, for a new year, how do we do that? To have that shift, to have the courage to take that shift. Yeah, and say, why not do things, turn around? The opposite as we used to do. Why not let go of control? Why not let go of micro leadership, And why not let go of lean thinking and all those terms we have been working with for years? That was, for me, in my opinion, a control system. And
Yes.
yeah, why not teach the leaders how to help the employees to use coaching in their work, so
Right.
they can, yeah, because if we get, if the leaders always tell the employees what to do, you have to do this and that, it's the old mindset. Yeah, yeah, it's not working in future. Now
Absolutely.
what we're facing is that we have to be much more innovative. We have to drop out of the box. We have to drop out of whatever we knew was certain and comfort zones. It's not working anymore. We have to be able to, and also have the courage to, as leaders, to give that to the employees. Jump out of that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, explore whatever. Be innovative. Find new solutions, new ways. We have to do that because it's also very difficult to be in the market, to be relevant. The customer journey has changed a lot in this period. Last year, we are much more online, and if that's what I also write sometimes on LinkedIn. If you haven't understood that mindset, I'm afraid that your business is not relevant in short time or in the long time. So, so having the deeper understanding, that's neuroscience. And having this understanding in the long term, that's what I help with, create the long-term strategies. But you have to understand what's beneath, the levels under that. And that is the relationships you build with people, the trust you build. And that's not only your employees, that your customers as well, and partners, boards, whatever. We have to be aware that the world is really changing. It calls for human capabilities, really. If not before, in the future, it will be much more important. So that's very short. That's how I do it. Yes.
That's very, very, very interesting. We've come to the last question of the
Yeah.
interview. I want to ask you, do you have any sound bites for our audience?
We're starting up because that we don't meet so often now
Yes.
because of Corona. So we have established an online session. Instead of networking, what I used to do, set up networking, in about leadership and development, neuroscience, coaching, whatever the themes were. Now we're setting up some masterminds for leaders. We really want to help the leaders. I've been coaching for free also in this period.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's very inspiring.
I love helping people that don't have the possibilities of developing themselves by the expensive courses and things like that. But we all have to make a living. So what we do is we make to have the possibilities of helping as many leaders as possible. We set up mastermind groups, and we call it mastermind, not work networking, because there's a learning journey in that as
Yes,
well.
yes.
We want to teach them all that we know from my studies in different places, my plus 35 experiences as leader, and my team. I have different teams also to help with going online. Maybe they want to set up their business online in a web shop,
Right.
website that's more that's more compelling, that's more actual in our world, and also the branding, marketing about it, because
Absolutely.
we want to help with whatever is possible. And I have a team with that same approach, and so we want to reach out to as many people as possible. So this is an option still. We haven't filled out all the mastermind groups yet, but it's running fast. Yeah, but that could be possible. And also the coach certification. at the end of that first year mastermind, because then you learn all the fundamental about neuroscience. And so within 2 years, you can become a neuroscience coach as well.
Wow.
Yeah, that's high level. So all from my PhD and all my learnings you get in that. I don't hold anything back. I love to see other people grow and get their success as well.
That is very inspiring, and I'm sure that must be a great team that you're working with, because the ideal behind this work is very inspiring and it's very great. And I really want to thank you for joining us today. It was a very great conversation. I'm sure you've given our audience a lot to think about. And I wish you and your business all the very best.
Yes, thank you. And thank you for now.
Thank you.